everybody. Today we're going to be talking about HVAC scams, something I'm pretty passionate about. I believe a company should be honest, and the guy that comes to your house should be honest. And if the guy that comes to your house isn't honest, the company should actually fire him. So anyway, so you wake up in the morning and it's going to be 100 degrees and your air broke. So what do? First thing you do is you run to the computer, because we live in an instant gratification world, and it's got to be now, and if it's not now, then you move on to the next one. So you find a company. First website you see says no diagnostic fee with repair, or they give you some low diagnostic fee. So you say, man, this looks good. This guy's not going to charge me to come out. He's going to fix me up, and I'll be happy. He'll be happy. He'll be on his way to the next one. So he comes out, and he's right. He's not going to charge you diagnostic with repair. Well, you get the bill. Man, are you surprised? A repair that should have cost you $300 cost you $750. And I know this to be a fact, and I'll tell you a story about how I know. I was at a house. The lady actually called me because she did have one of those low diagnostic fee companies come out. She called them. They came out. First time, she called them twice actually. First time she called them, she had a bad rug capacitor. Normal repair. I think they charged her $300 for that repair, for that rug capacitor. He put the wrong size in. It called for I think a 35/3 rug capacitor. He put in a 35/7.5. which is sure enough going to mess up the motor. So it wasn't 2 weeks, a month later, she called him back, and now she had a bad condenser fan motor. The unit was 12 years old. It was on his way out when he was there to begin with. So she called him back out, and they wanted $750 to replace the motor. So she felt like that was a bit excessive. The run capacitor was really excessive. So she said, no, I don't think so. I'm going to have to make a couple calls. So she called me, and she never told me how much they was going to charge. I didn't know when she called that she had already had somebody come out and look at it. So she called me. I went out there and said, when I got out there, she told me that she had somebody else look at it, and they said that she had a bad motor. Well, sure enough, she did, but she never told me how much they was going to charge her. So I gave my price, and I said, just what did they want to charge you? It's not going to change my price any, because I've already told you what it's going to be. She told me $750. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. Well, I found out that company, their guys don't get paid hourly. They get paid on commission. And so when a guy gets paid on commission, they are going to make as much money on that job as possible, because their check depends on it. Their livelihood, their rent, their mortgage, their food, the baby's diapers. It depends on how much they make. And those guys are really subpar, because those technicians are subpar technicians, because a real service guy would not work for a company that pays on commission, simply because he already knows that in the wintertime he wants a steady check coming in. And in the wintertime it gets slow, and if there's no calls, he's not making any money. So he's got to make as much money as he possibly can. And unfortunately, they try to get rich off of one customer, which sucks for, let's say, an elderly person living on a fixed income, they're on Social Security making $600-900 a month, and they depend on the air. And unfortunately, when they call people like that, they can't afford to have their air fixed. So just because you see a low diagnostic or a no diagnostic with repair doesn't mean you're going to get a cheap job. It just doesn't. Your main concern shouldn't be how much you pay the guy up front, but it should be how much it's going to cost in the end. Because I'm going to be honest with you, and I'll tell people when they call me, well, this company told me, if I did the repair, there wouldn't be a diagnostic. Well, there is. It's just in the price. You don't see it, so whatever. So if you're not seeing it in the beginning, then you're thinking you're not having to pay, but you are. So I always tell people when they call, I do have a diagnostic charge, and my diagnostic charge is $75. So, and then they're like, well, that's too much. This other company, they don't want a diagnostic if they do the repair. And then I had to explain to them that you're paying it one way or the other. Another scam. Let's say you're a maintenance customer of a company. Well, a lot of people will be dishonest. Let's say they're out in the summer and they're checking the air conditioning. Well, a way to generate revenue for the wintertime, because it does get slow in the wintertime, but a way to generate revenue during the summertime is make the heat not work. So when it comes time to turn the heat on, well, your heat doesn't work. So what do? You have to call the heating and air company. And they figure, well, we're out here now, they know our name, we're going to put a sticker on everything, or they'll call us back. Well, I used to work for a company that did that. The company didn't. The techs that worked for the company would do it. And then what they would do is they would disconnect a wire, or they would turn the gas valve off, or something like that. And so when they come out in the wintertime, then they say, well, your circuit board's bad. When all it was when they was out in the summertime, disconnected a wire, or turn a valve off, or something. And so they expect, since they was there the last time, they'd be the ones coming back. They generate revenue for the company, and then they would make more money. Well, I would always love it when I go to those calls and saw that we were out there, or that one guy that liked to scam people, he was out there before me, and I go up to the furnace and find out, well, it's just a disconnected wire. I'd reconnect the wire and tell the person, well, there's no charge. Boy, that would piss the owner off. Even after explaining to him, well, your guy's the one that turned it off to begin with, or disconnected the wire, well, that would piss him off. But I was happy, because I could go home and I could look myself in the mirror, because I was honest with somebody. And it comes back to you in the end. So, that's just how some of these guys are out there. And unfortunately, those guys have some of the best reviews online. And I don't understand it. Those companies have some of the best reviews online. So what do? Well, you can use YouTube. And there's other markets. Yelp has some good review things, where it has a filter where where if users are actually posting reviews, it actually knows who you are and you're posting reviews, and the more you use that website, it just looks better for the review, because they will throw some reviews out. So, and you're able to respond to the reviews, but and a lot of people don't know. They give people good reviews, and they actually got a bad job, but they're just grateful that they got their stuff fixed. And a lot of them were overcharged to begin with. I mean, I keep saying it's overcharged. Well, I know the bigger companies, the ones with 30, 40, 50 employees, and some of these companies, you know, they had 30 service guys and 30,000 maintenance customers. They have to charge accordingly because they have such an entity to support that they need as much revenue as they possibly can. There's one company here in the Atlanta area that's a big company, that's a really good company. But, you know, they are a big company and they do charge. I was surprised some of the stuff they don't charge a lot for, that I would think that they would get a premium for. So anyway, so that's kind of got off the track there. But then there's scams. There's one company here in Atlanta that their big thing is you don't pay for Freon. And now that Freon is so expensive, you see that and you're like, man, I know my unit is low, but I don't want to have to pay for Freon. Well, the problem with that is they're going to get their money for the Freon because it's expensive. It's expensive for us, and they have guys that, you know, they have a lot of guys. So if every truck has, let's say, 2 drums of Freon on it, that's inventory just sitting there. If they're putting Freon in people's units, you know that they're going through a lot of it. So they're spending a fortune. Now, how can they recover that income? Or how can they recover that cost of that Freon? They have to make it somewhere. So their deal is you have to pay for a diagnostic or for a leak search. And it's the leak search has gone up now because Freon's gone up, of course. But the leak search, generally, I would say in my experience, and I've been doing this a long time, Freon leaks are generally in the indoor coil. And I can find that leak in about 5 minutes. And it doesn't cost the $250 that they charge for 5 minutes worth of finding a Freon leak. So they charge for, they're getting their money for their Freon. So you're paying for it. And I don't charge for that because it only takes about 5 minutes. Now, if I had to go find a leak, other than if it's not in the places I know they're most common to be found, then I'm going to charge because it's a lot of work. But generally, I'm not charging for a leak check because it takes about 5 minutes in most cases. So that's one. You know, if you hear that you don't pay for Freon, it's a scam. I was at a Home Depot one day, and I normally don't buy air conditioning parts at a Home Depot, but if I'm doing like a rental house and the home or the landlord doesn't want to pay a lot, then I'll go and I'll buy a thermostat. Because, you know, what am I going to do? I'm going to go buy a thermostat from the supply house, or I'm going to buy it from Home Depot. I'm going to buy it from Home Depot because they're just not paying a lot. So I'm there, and you know, Home Depot sells air conditioners. Well, they don't sell air conditioners, but a separate company does. and they rent a space from Home Depot to put their stuff there, and then they have a salesperson sitting there or a lead generator. So I was back there and I was looking at the thermostats, and of course, you know, I got my name on my shirt, but she didn't see it. And then so she came up and she introduced herself to me, and she was like, you know, my company can help you with that. So I played along with her and I said, really? She said, oh yeah, we're one of the best companies in the Atlanta area. I said, really? She said, oh yeah. We are based on integrity. I said, really? She said, oh yeah, look, it's right here in the brochure. And she opened up the brochure and it had the little fish symbol, and I was like, really? She said, yeah, we're based on integrity and honesty, and I wouldn't work for them if they weren't. I said, really? I said, well, can I tell you a little story about your company? And she said, oh yeah, I would love to hear it. By that time, she knew I was a contractor. Well, another scam is free heat exchanger inspection with the maintenance, $100 value. Well, I was always taught that a heat exchanger inspection was part of a maintenance, because really, what are you doing when you go inspect a furnace? You're checking amperage, you're checking all your wire connections, you're checking, you know, your coil ratings, all the other, you know, that kind of stuff. But the most important thing you're doing when you're out at the furnace maintenance is checking the heat exchanger and the flue. Most important thing. So I was always taught heat exchanger is part of the maintenance. Well, their deal is you get a free heat exchanger inspection, $99 value. I don't know. So anyway, so she proceeds to tell me how good this company is. I'm like, really? She said, oh yeah, we're great. So I told her about the job I had just came from like 2 days prior, to where they was out there and inspected the heat exchanger and told the homeowner it was cracked and they needed a new furnace. And so I'm like, well, let me come out and look at it. When I was talking to the homeowner, I said, let me come out and look at it. So I went out there and looked at it, and he was like, and I gave him a price, and he was like, all right, go ahead and do it. And it was a fairly new furnace. It was like 8 years old or something like that. And so I was like, all right, so I ordered the heat exchanger. And he was pretty dead set on just changing the heat exchanger, because he had been told that there was a crack there. And actually the guy had it pulled out, and I pulled it out, and when I pulled it out, I looked at it and I showed the homeowner. I said, there's no crack here. Well, this is where the guy, and he pointed at the place, and there was no crack there. Because what was happening with it is it was rattled a little bit. And I said, well, I can't turn this in for warranty because there's no crack. He said, well, you got the other one. Go ahead and put it in. So I did it. I mean, I didn't have a problem with doing it. And I mean, he was happy. He'd already had his mind made up where he wanted a new heat exchanger anyway. So I did it. But I mean, there's all kind of scams out there. So what do? You do your homework on who you're calling. Ask questions. You know, don't be fooled by the scams, because like I said, when you go online, you're looking for somebody to come out to your house and fix your stuff. You don't want to be ripped off when it happens. But what happens is you go online, you see a nice website with a big husky guy, good looking guy, and you're like, man, this company is portraying themselves as the greatest thing ever. So you like, I am so impressed with their website. So you call them. And the guy that comes out to your house looks nothing like the guy that's on their website. The guy that comes out to your house is driving a minivan, not even a minivan, because there's nothing wrong with minivans in the service industry, but it looks like it was his family car that he turned into a minivan, or it was something he bought for really cheap, and you know, it's not marked, it's just, and then he gets out of the truck and he smells like he ate 15 pounds of garlic, and his shirt's all untucked, and he's just a mess. And then you gotta like, well, is this really the guy I want working on my stuff? You know, so, or you'll go online and you'll go on Craigslist because you're trying to save some money, but you know, you gotta stay away from the Craigslist people. And if you advertise on Craigslist, if you're watching this and you advertise on Craigslist, sorry, I don't want to offend you, but for the most part, there's good and bad in everything, but for the most part, unless you've had somebody at your house, or you know somebody that's used somebody, you don't know who's coming to your house. You know, so kind of do your homework. Look on YouTube. You know, read reviews. You know, stuff like that. But anyway, I've rambled enough. So, good luck to you in your ventures on finding some air conditioning work. And just, you know, talk to people. Just get referrals, because that's going to be where you get your best product from, is from referrals. Anyway, have a great day. Hope all goes well. And if you're watching this because your air is broke, stay cool.